Hello everybody. So our topic is like that, blood and blood components. Appropriate use of blood and blood products, then complication of blood transfusion. So about blood we will be talking today. Blood transfusion, very important thing for us. Blood components. Human blood is a complex, specialized fluid that accounts for about 7% to 8% of our body weight. It composed of 4 main components. I think you have already known it. Still, this is a recapitulation which can be categorized into plasma, the liquid portion, we call it as a plasma, and the formed elements, the cellular portion. As you know, plasma is about 55% of the total blood. 55% of the total blood. Plasma is a straw-colored liquid which serves as the transport medium for the rest of the blood components. So plasma is a very important component of blood. Second component is the red blood cells. Red blood cells, we call it as erythrocytes. 44% of the total blood is RBC. Third component is the white blood cells. Usually we tell it as leukocytes. It is more or less than 1% of the total blood. Less than 1% of the total blood. We will be talking about the packed red blood cells, that is PRBCs. Used to increase the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. The decision is based on the hemoglobin. When we will be transfusing the PRBC will depends on the hemoglobin level. So it is like that. There are 2 columns you can see. Different levels of hemoglobin, less than 7 gram per deciliter or 7 gram %, then 7 to 8 gram, then 8 to 9 grams. The indications of blood transfusion it depends on the hemoglobin level. If it is less than 7 gram, we call it as a standard threshold. Transfusion is generally indicated for most stable hospitalized patients. Usually, standard threshold is generally indicated for most stable hospitalized patient. The blood transfusion, that is PRBC, we have to ask. Then when the hemoglobin level is 7 to 8 gram per deciliter, we call it as a restrictive range. Transfusion considered for patients undergoing major surgery or those with pre-existing cardiovascular disease. If there is any hospitalized patient having pre-existing cardiovascular diseases, or we are preparing the patient for any surgery, major surgery usually, cardiovascular surgery. So in these patients, we have to give the blood transfusion. Then when the hemoglobin level is 8 to 10 gram %, we call it as a symptomatic only patients. Symptomatic only patient. Usually we give it only if the patient shows anemic hypoxia. That means there is chest pain, there is shortness of breath, or severe tachycardia. This we call as a symptomatic patient. So we have to give the blood transfusion. Then the 8 to 10 gram per deciliter. These are the levels of hemoglobin which needs blood transfusion. Now after PRBC, we will be talking about the platelets. So platelets has to be given when it is indicated. Platelets are transfused to prevent or stop bleeding patient with low platelet count. That is means when there is a thrombocytopenia. when there is low platelet level, and there is a functional platelet defect. Functional platelet defect, we have to give platelets in those patients. Usually we give in prophylactically, means if it is the platelet level is 10,000 microliter, to prevent spontaneous bleeding or in stable patient during chemotherapy. Usually we will give the patient blood or platelets when we give the chemotherapy in a cancer patient. Then some procedures, if the platelet count is less than 50,000 microliter, required before most of the cases, or invasive procedure when any major surgery is there, or in any invasive procedure like a lumbar puncture, in that case we have to start the platelet, we have to give the platelets. Then some neurosurgical or eye surgery, when the platelet level is 1 lakh microliter, high threshold are maintained for surgery, where even teeny bleedings are catastrophic. Even a small amount of bleeding is not expected in that cases of a neurosurgery patient or in an eye surgery patient. So in that case, the platelet has to be infused in that patients. Then when there is a active bleeding, in active bleeding, target is usually kept above 50,000. Then we will be talking about the plasma. When the plasma is important, we have to infuse the plasma. We usually give fresh frozen plasma. Fresh frozen plasma, we call it as a FFP. FFP contains all coagulants factors and is used to give when there is a clotting deficiency. When there is a clotting deficiency, FFP has to be given. Their indications are active bleeding plus coagulopathy. If there is active bleeding or coagulopathy, when patient is bleeding significantly, when there is elevated INR, means what is INR, you know? What is INR? The ratio between the normal BT with the expected value. When it is there, we give it the platelets. When the patient is bleeding and has a significant elevation INR, usually more than 1.5. Normally it is 1. Ratio should be 1. But if it is more than that, 1.5 or 1.6, in that case, we are expecting active bleeding and coagulopathy is there. So the platelet, fresh frozen plasma has to be given in those patients. Then warfarin reversal. Warfarin, you know what is warfarin? Warfarin is given for stopping the coagulation. Warfarin. If the patient is bleeding or need urgent surgery and there is a vitamin K or prothrombin complex is concentrate, PCC is not enough or available. If it is not available, warfarin reversal has to be given. In that case, the fresh frozen plasma is suggested. Then, when there is a massive transfusion protocol, usually in a trauma patient, alongside when we have to give the FFP with the PRBCs and platelets. often in 1:1:1 ratio. We have to give the blood transfusion, infuse them, the PRBC as well as platelets in this ratio, 1:1:1. Then in any liver disease, to correct clotting factors deficiency before an invasive procedure. Before an invasive procedure means any cardiac surgery or any other surgery like neurosurgery and other things, and patient is having liver disease concomitantly. In that case, you have to correct the clotting factors by giving FFP. So these are few indications when we have to start the FFPs. Then another component is cryoprecipitate. Cryoprecipitate. It is a concentrated source of fibrinogen, factor 8 and bond Willebrand factor. These few factors are there in the cryoprecipitate. So this has to be given when patient is having hypofibrinogenemia. Hypofibrinogenemia indicated when fibrinogen level is 150 to 200 milligram per deciliter. In the setting of active bleeding and patient is having hemorrhage, massive hemorrhage. In that case, we have to give cryoprecipitate. Then another is defibrinogenemia patient. We have to start the cryoprecipitate, used for patient with inherited fibrinogen disorders when specific concentrates are unavailable. When specifically the factors are not available as such, we have to give the cryoprecipitate. So these are few components of blood which we have to infuse. Now, after telling all those criteria of blood transfusion, some key critical triggers we have to discuss it now. When to act, when we have to start the blood transfusion. Beyond the lab value, doctors look for this red flag. We usually call it red flag. Doctors look for these red flags that suggest a transfusion is urgent. What is that? One is acute blood loss. When blood loss is more than 30% of the total blood volume, we have to start the blood transfusion. Then hemodynamic instability. When there is hemodynamic instability, usually in low blood pressure patients and high heart rate that don't respond to IV fluids. Even giving the IV fluids, we have to, we call it as a hemodynamic unstable patient. The blood transfusion has to be given on those patients. Then another is end organ failure, end organ ischemia. End organ ischemia, there is a signs of heart attack, angina, ECG changes are there, or altered mental status caused by low oxygenation. In that case, the blood transfusion has to be given. These are trigger sign or flag sign, we have to say sometime. So these are few indicators of blood transfusion. Now we will be talking about the complication of after giving blood. Some complication can arise. There will be complications of blood transfusion. While blood transfusions are generally very safe and it can save the lives also, they can sometimes cause complications. Like they are sometimes cause complications like mild allergic reactions to life-threatening emergencies. Doctors and nurses monitor patients closely during this procedure to catch these signs early. So you have to monitor the patient and see if there is any problems. If early, after starting the blood transfusion, you have to monitor the patient and see if whether there is a reactions occurring or not. The complications are typically categorized by when they occur. We have to categorize it when they will be occurring. Usually there are acute complications. in acute complications within 24 hours. If some complications occur within 24 hours, usually these reactions are usually occur during or shortly after the beginning of the transfusion. They are allergic reaction, itching, redness, then ecchymotic areas. So allergic reactions, it is minor one. Sometimes there may be febrile non-hemolytic anemia is there. Febrile episodes may be there. Patient may be having fever, maybe rigors and chills and other things will be there. And there may be acute hemolytic anemia, acute hemolytic crisis. Then there is anaphylaxis. In a severe situation, there may be anaphylactic reactions. Then TRALI, acute lung injury may be there. There may be edema in the lung. So TRALI, then TSCU. These are few complications can arise. Transfusion associate coagulopathy, that is TSCU. It is the acute complications within 24 hours. Then there will be delayed complication. First is acute, then there is a delayed complication after 24 hours to years. The range of complications usually after 24 hours to years. The early is within 24 hours. Second is delayed complication after 24 to even years. Then third complication may be massive transfusion complications. Massive transfusion complications, they may be hypothermia, means patient may be having coldness all over the body. The temperature may be reduced, body temperature. Then citrate toxicity. Because the preservator is there in citrate is there, no? So that can cause some toxic situation in those patients when you give a massive transfusion. Then third is hyperkalemia may be there. Due to the breakage of hemoglobin, the potassium level may be increased. Hyperkalemia may be there due to the massive transfusion. So these are few important these complications of blood transfusion. So when complications occur, you have to, first is you should be vigilant. When you are starting the blood transfusion, you have to be monitor the patient. So this about the complications and other thing about blood transfusion. Blood transfusion is a very important procedure for us. So the one class has been taken, will be taken by how you observe the blood transfusion. When we are transfusing a patient in a hospital setup, you have to see that whether any reactions occur in the initial stage, and you have to how you are giving it, the blood transfusion. So monitoring is very important for us, and we will take you to a situation where blood transfusion is going. In our hospital, as the wards are not yet started, the blood bank is also not there. So we will be asking the authority to take you to IGM hospital where blood transfusion is given. So that's all about today's class about blood transfusion. So this is very important topic for you. Anything you want to know? So thank you. I will be stopping here.